For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love.
And what are some of the things that you really run out of time? And we've got to talk about your latest. I want to go back a little bit, first of all, and celebrate a true legend.
Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work.
And did you pursue performing opportunities while you were in high school? Did you?
Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. What are you celebrating today? Well, I'd like to let everyone know it's National Donate Blood Month. So if you are in the mood, please do so. I am so excited about today because I am going to be bringing the one and only Jon Peterson on the show. And there he is, whether he's ready or not. On Sunday afternoon, I have the distinct pleasure of having an old friend of mine on the show, Chip Defa. And Chip Defa and I, of course, were talking about Jon Peterson, who has appeared, if I'm not mistaken, on 37 of Chip Defa's CDs.
Have I really? Wow.
Is that possible?
It's possible, yes. Good Lord.
I think so. And wow. He will correct me if I'm wrong. And he suggested that you come on the show. And I thought, why not? And of course, here you are, great British actor, but you are a true Yankee Doodle dandy, as we will prove today. So welcome to the show, first of all, Jon.
Thank you, Richard. It's so good to be here. Thank you.
And I want to ask you, as I begin with all of my shows, what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating getting up and being able to put my socks on without my back going. That's pretty good.
I'm a lot older than you are, so.
No, yeah. I mean, you know, I spent so many years as a dancer, and by now my body is shot. My back's shot, my knees are shot, my heart is shot, everything's falling off. But yeah, I just keep going. So every day I wake up, and if I feel good, I'm like, good, let's do some work.
I think that it was Gwen Verdon who said that a dancer dies two deaths. There's the dancer's death, you know, when because the body goes through all kinds of different things. How do you keep yourself in shape? Obviously, you're in very good shape. Are you at the gym a lot?
Yeah.
How are you keeping fit during COVID?
During COVID, there was nothing was open. As we know, we were all stuck in our apartments. I found this HIIT class online, which was 25 minutes, and I would do it every day. And I had some little dumbbells, and I would do those. And sometimes I'd do a bit of yoga, which got boring. And then I do a ballet bar, and that got boring. Because if I start doing a ballet bar, all this old trauma comes back into my head, PTSD of being because I went to the Royal Ballet School for 9 years, from the age of 9 till just about 18. And back in those days, I think they're all very nice now, and they all, hug each other and tell each other how lovely they are. But back in my day, they would whack you with a stick and tell you were going to hell. So if I start doing a ballet bar, thinking I'm going to get back in shape, all this comes back into my head, and I start sort of internally screaming. So I just have to stop and go for coffee.
Well, I want to ask you, where did it all start for you? I asked for a photograph of you as a 5-year-old.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't find one.
I think that you sent me a photograph of you much younger than 5.
I was like 18 months old, I think.
But I love this picture. Here's a perfect, this looks like the perfect ideal family.
Oh, we kind of were. Well,
and you look exactly like your father. So
I do actually. Yeah, more and more as I get older. I used to look like my mum, and now I'm looking more like my dad. Isn't that funny?
Do you find that this happens to me, that as I'm looking in the mirror when I'm shaving, I see my father looking back at me?
Yes, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I see my grandma, who was Dottie and deaf.
That's always funny. So tell us a little bit about that kid and where that desire and that drive to be in this business started?
Yes. Well, gosh, I think I used to watch those MGM musicals on the TV. They would come on, I think, on Sunday afternoons when I was 5 or 6 or something like that. And I was just mesmerized by this sort of alternate reality. And I just wanted to do it. And Gene Kelly was this magical figure that I wanted to be. It's so cliche, isn't it? You wanted to be. I wanted to be Gene Kelly. I wanted so bad. I wanted to go into the
obviously, Gene Kelly over Fred Astaire.
Then, yes. And as I got older, Fred Astaire took over. When I became more sophisticated, Fred Astaire became, because he was more sort of balletic and refined, whereas Gene was kind of a working man, like an everyman. But yes, and I remember seeing For Me and My Girl, was it Me and My Gal? Me and My Gal.
Me and My Gal.
With Gene Kelly and Judy Garland. I think it was about 9. And I just, that was it. I wanted to be in vaudeville. I wanted to marry Judy Garland. And I told my mum, I'm going to marry Judy Garland. And she said, darling, you can't. She's dead. And I went into mourning at the age of 9 that my fiance had died.
Those who know me and know that I'm not making this up, I was 8 years old when Judy Garland died.
Were you?
And I threw myself on the kitchen floor and I said to my mom, I cannot go on.
Oh my God, that's too sweet.
So there we were on opposite ends of the planet.
Yes.
Parallel lives.
Yes, we were. There was something about her, she had that. She was a sorceress.
Absolutely. And she still is. And this year marks 100 years of her life. So, and she's still doing that magic over all of us.
Yes. And hopefully, as long as the nuclear bomb doesn't go off, there will always be a record of her, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
As Frank Sinatra said, everyone else will be forgotten. She won't.
Absolutely. So when, it's one thing to want to see these movies and everything. It's another thing to start actively living that life. When you went to your mom and dad and said, this is what I want to do, were they supportive?
Very much so. They just sent me off to dance class. They said, all right, there you go. And they found this little local dancing school, the Paulette School of Dancing. And she was wonderful. She was only 22, but I thought she was ancient. And she taught modern, which was jazz, but you used to call it modern in those days, and ballet and tap, and national dancing, which was like Hungarian in a circle with a thing on your head, doing that, which I loved. And I did that, and I excelled in everything. I just took to it like a duck to water, or whatever the expression is. Loved it. And I loved tap, of course. And the rhythms were just so exciting to me. And I was good at ballet too. And I liked ballet, but I wanted to do tap. But then because I was so good at everything, and ballet especially, the only school that my dance teacher said, she said, the only school you can get a really good ballet training is the Royal Ballet School. So why don't you audition? So I did. And I think it was like 3 days of sort of 7-hour auditions in a row. And I got in. And I went for 2 years to the junior associate section of the Royal Ballet School from the age of 9 to 11, which was great fun because you took class twice a week where the Royal Ballet Company rehearsed, which was in Hammersmith in London. And I would walk in the evening for my evening class straight from school, and there would be Margot Fontaine, who was about 65 then, on her last sort of couple of years of performing. Just standing there on the telephone, with the dyed black hair. And I remember thinking, my God. So that was very magical, for this kid to be amongst all that. So I thought, perhaps I should do ballet. So then I went to the next section of the school, which is from the age of 11 till 16, which was in a place called White Lodge, which was an old royal hunting lodge in Richmond, just outside London, in the middle of Richmond Park, which the park was gated off when the sun went down. So you were locked in. Miles from anywhere, you could see the town miles away, and it was like Colditz. We used to call it Colditz. It was absolute sheer hell. The teachers were sort of Dickensian Miss Havishams, they hated us. And if they couldn't mold you into what they wanted, then you should just die. go away and die. You know, if you're not Royal Ballet material, you must die. So, so a lot of us went away and died. So that was that. And then I went to the upper school, which is the age of 16 to 18. And that was where I really started to just, you know, because I was a teenager, I was rebellious, and I was just not having it. So, and then I sort of I remember I walked out one day in my graduate year and it was snowing, and I just thought, oh, I'm never going back. And I just didn't. I had to pay back some of my grant, my government grant in my spot. What do they call that? A grant, I suppose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had to pay it back because I quit, and it was all very dramatic. And I went to a small ballet company called the Northern Ballet Theatre, which is now a big company, for a few months, got my equity card in the mail, said to Northern Ballet, see ya, got on the train and went back from Manchester, where the company was, to London, auditioned for The Sound of Music in the West End, starring Petula Clark, and got it. Who knew how easy it was to get a job when you're 18?
There are a lot of people who are hating you right now.
Oh, but that, you know, from the age of 18 to about 34, 35, jobs would come. I'd go, yeah, no, I don't want that one. Yeah, you know, West End show. I mean, I was so blasé. No, it was terrible, because you think that's how it's going to be. And then, of course, you get to 35 and people are like, nah, he's too old. Now, and now 20 years on from that, I'm really too old.
Well, you know, it's funny. I had Pamela Myers on the other day.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw the interview or not. She comes to New York. She auditions for Company, gets the show, gets a Tony nomination, and thinks this is the way it's going to be my whole career.
You have nothing to compare it to.
Of course, it's a huge wake-up call. It's not always that way. But I want to go back. When you were doing all the dance classes and everything, were there performing opportunities for you at that time as well? Were you also acting? When did your first opportunities come along that you were acting or dancing outside of the conservatory or the ballet classes?
Yes, well, within the Royal Ballet, we would get to dance with the company, like little walk-on roles, and we got into our last 2 years, like the graduate year, we would get to do some of the quarter ballet stuff with the company. Sort of, we'd fill in, and that was terrifying. So from that point of view, we got to perform a lot, and they do a lot of school performances at some of the theatres in the outskirts of London. The Royal Ballet School would put shows out. They do ballets and stuff like that. So we did that a lot. But I wasn't doing what I used to do. I wasn't doing tap anymore. I wasn't singing and doing all the fun things I did when I was at, you know, my little dancing school. So
excuse me for interrupting. Was the singing natural for you, or did you also have voice training?
I didn't start having voice training till I was about 20.
Okay.
It sounds so old, doesn't it? I sound so young now, but then it was like, oh, I should really start, because it was kind of a natural voice. But of course, I didn't know I could sing until my voice broke. So I was 16, and suddenly, I was like, oh, I can sing again, and I can sing properly now because I have a man's voice. And then I started training a couple of years after that. But I used to sneak off, which was highly illegal, from the Royal Ballet School and take outside classes, like a little acting coach I had for a couple of years, and just a one-on-one sessions, not like a class of people. And I would do that because I just had this burning, like, this isn't enough for me. You know, I want to do acting. I want to learn to sing. But I didn't start singing until I actually got into theatre and started on that road. But they found out I was taking an outside dance class in Covent Garden in London, in a studio called the Dance Centre, which is kind of like Steps. Now it's not there anymore. It used to be a convent. And they found out, and I was suspended from school for taking an outside class and encouraging the development of the wrong muscles. That's what they were back then. Now I think they encourage everything.
You were a juvenile delinquent.
In their eyes, I know. How fancy wanting to dance, do other things, and it was terrible. I think now they encourage them to do jazz and to even do tap, you know, and stuff like that at the Royal. I think they're much more open now. I actually went backstage 2 years ago, just before COVID, with a friend of mine who does walking tours of the Royal Opera House where the Royal Ballet are. And he took me back and we watched some of the company doing class, and I felt really weird being backstage, but they were so nice and much more relaxed than they used to be back in the 70s when I was a kid. They seemed a little bit more, they seemed a little happier. So maybe things have changed. The world's changed since the 70s anyway.
So how did you find out? I'm always interested in learning the ropes for a young actor, and especially there. Was it the same process as it is here in New York in terms of finding out about certain roles? Like, for example, The Sound of Music. Was it in the trade papers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have, we have backstage here, but over there they have the stage. So it's the same thing. And I think that's where I found it out. Trundled along with my friend from the ballet company. We both went and just got the job. I just sang a bit and danced a bit, read a bit, and I had a job. And I was like, okay, this is fun. And then when that was over, it was about 1.5 years, I think. I was the understudy to Rolf. I was in the chorus, understudy Rolf, and he left after 9 months or something. And then I took over for the last couple of months of the run, which was a big thrill. I was 18 and it was all very exciting.
So this was your first long-term role. Did you have, what was it like learning? I mean, first of all, having to go on and doing a role for such a long time. Did you have the muscles already in place to be able to do such a role for a long time?
Yes.
Or you had the discipline already in place?
I think so, because of all that time at the Royal Ballet. I mean, one thing it did leave you with a ton of discipline, which has thankfully kind of stayed with me, although I'm naturally rather be on this sofa, having coffee and eating bars of chocolate. But I think the discipline was easy. Yeah, I loved the discipline. I liked the routine. I liked the structure, the camaraderie. They were a lovely company. Petula Clark was like an angel. She's very quiet, very shy lady, but very, very sweet and very caring. And it was a beautiful, beautiful introduction to the world of commercial theater, from this sheltered world of ballet that I was in for all those years. And it was just like, welcome, this is going to be your life. And I was like, yes, thank you very much. It will be. And
so you get your equity card. Now, was the equity card at this point in your life a holy grail item for you, or was this a game changer for you?
It was both, yes. In those days, you couldn't, I think it's just changed here as well. It changed a while ago in England, but in those days, you couldn't work unless you had your equity card. And you had to do so many weeks to get it. And but you could go to a ballet company. Equity is the same union over there for dance companies, for theater, and for film as well. So there is not SAG and equity, it's all equity, which is much less complicated. I don't know.
Yes.
But I think they're talking about merging everything into one big union, but I guess there's pros and cons. But anyway, so you get one union, you're in, which is great. So I was glad to change my name to Jon Peterson because my real name is Peter Sellers, like the Pink Panther. So but I'm so unimaginative. My middle name's John, and I said, "Oh, just change them around." And that was it. That's my name.
So how did you? I mean, first of all, let's go back to that. Your name is Peter Sellers.
Yes.
Were you aware that once you became a member of Equity that you would have to change your name?
Yeah. I knew, and I was thought of all these names, glamorous names, Thud or something like that, but I just couldn't come up with anything. And I thought, why don't I just swap my first and middle name out? And it's fine, I mean, I think I changed it about 15 years ago. I thought, I'm going to change my name. I changed it to Johnny Mars for about a month. And I thought, what am I doing? And I changed it back again before anyone could grab my name.
Now, let's talk about that for a moment. You have a different name for SAG purposes than you do for your acting purposes. And why is that?
Yeah, actually, because I think SAG, when I first joined SAG, they had a Jon Peterson, or they have a Jon Peterson. So I had to put an initial in the middle, Jon J Peterson, which is what I am on SAG. And then when I got the agent I have now, she said, "Oh, you have to change your equity name to match your SAG name. It's ridiculous. You have to name." I'm like, "Was it?" All right. So I did. So now I'm Jon J Peterson with equity as well, which is a little confusing. And I think a Jon Peterson has already jumped onto my equity name now and got that, so I can't get it back.
So now I want to ask this, the question that I've asked, other actors as well. How ambitious were you as your career was unfolding? A lot of people are very, very ambitious in terms of going after this and going after that. And then other actors are just very fortunate in terms of the people that they're getting to know, contacts that they know. Did you map out a plan for yourself, or no?
I did. I mean, I had this desire to do good work, and I wanted to be good and get better. That was my thing. I've got to be better, got to get better, got to be really good, got to be the best. But I wasn't competitive in the sense that I wanted to like get on my way and like call people, and I could never do that. I think because my mum was so reserved, and I get those genes from her. So I'm not very pushy. I'm not very good at schmoozing or networking, and I'm still not very good at it. If I try to do it, I can make one email or make one call, and then I'm like, ugh, and I don't follow up. So they'll get back to me and I won't get back to them. So I'm just awful at it, awful. And so that's been my biggest downfall, I think, because I have been such a bad schmoozer.
Well, let's go there for a moment. As your career starts to take off, a team starts coming in place. Agents, managers, the people that are part of your team. Did you start putting a team together, or did that come much later?
Well, yeah, I did. I got an agent. It's so frustrating because we as actors, we don't really, there's all these courses on how to get wise with the business and how to know how to work, manipulate. A lot of that is, baloney, and it's show business is just smoke and mirrors. We're just fooling each other. You audition for something. Did you read the script? Yeah, I read the script. I didn't read the script, but sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but they'll never know. You know what I mean? It's that.
Absolutely.
So I got an agent, and then I was like, oh, this isn't working. So I'd get rid of him and get another agent. This was, when I was in my 20s. And then I'm like, a couple of years later, I'm like, I'll get another one. And it would just go on and on and on and on like that. And it just never seemed to work for me. And I would just, never really click with any of them. Now, none of them seemed to care. They never seemed to, be invested in your career like you were. Because why would they be? They got 35.
Exactly. Well, and I will say this to everyone out there who's looking for an agent, and with all due respect to all the agents out there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a time where agents would be on the phone going, have I got a client for you? And but nowadays, I think of agents, and if there are agents out there who are watching this who want to correct me, please come on the show.
I would love to hear that.
I think of agents now as talent brokers. They get a call, they need to fill a job, and they're going to try to fill that job rather than being go-getters in terms of trying to get their clients work. Did you find that was the case with you?
A little bit sometimes. When there was a lot of work out there, there was work coming into them, so they would submit their people, and there'd be a little bit of that. If you got the job, they negotiate. I had one great agent when I first came to New York, and he was Beverly Anderson.
Oh, yes,
stripper, she was great from Burlesque. Lovely lady, and a really good negotiator. But again, not very good at finding the jobs for you. But if you got the job, she would get you the best deal in town, and she would too. She was great, but she passed away a few years ago, and that was sad. I didn't want to leave her. She was a terrific lady. But as I get older, I realize now, because I'm an adult now and I'm not a kid with aspirations beyond reality, I know it's hard for the agent. So you just, I've been with the same agent now for about 3 years, which for me is a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I understand, she's not going to call me unless something comes in, and I don't take it personally anymore. But in the old days,
well, I hope she's watching now, and I hope she's on the phone making phone calls.
Yeah, I hope she is too.
So, how did the move to New York eventually happen for you?
Yeah, I did a chorus line in the UK UK National Tour back in '97, and Bjork Lee.
Oh, well, who I love.
Me too. She's like a favorite. I would say aunt, but I should say big sister. Wonderful, inspiring lady. And I was just, taken with her. Just my jaw would drop whenever she would speak. Everything she said was like, okay. And she said to me, "You want to?" Well, first of all, I was like, I want to work in New York. How the hell am I going to do that? I want to work in the States because I didn't seem to be going anywhere. I was treading, going on a treadmill, going like a little mouse in London. And I thought, there's got to be something else. Why don't I try a different town? So she was one of a few people that helped me to get my green card and come over. And she let me assist her, which was great. So she kind of employed me, which helped to get the green card and recommend. So that was so good of her. And a few other people helped. You had to have more than one person bring you over. You had to.
Was that an easy process to get the green card to come here?
It was just involved. You had a list of things you had to do. You had to tick them off. Like you had to get 10 people of note in the world of theater or the arts to write a recommendation letter to say that you are the best in your field. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if I'm the best in my field, but, I'm pretty good. So they would write all this stuff
down. From what I've seen and heard, you are.
Well, and I got my green card and came over and started working. And within a few months, not even that long, of working for Bjork, I got the Cabaret tour, the national tour they just opened Cabaret on Broadway with Alan Cummings. I don't know what his name is. Cumming. And then they were doing a national tour with Norbert Butz was the MC, and they needed a standby, so I auditioned, got it, and she said, "Go do it, Joe. You're released to go and pursue your life in the new world, in the colonies." So I did, and that was 2.5 years of touring with that amazing show. Norbert left after I think 9 or 10 months. And I got to take over, and I did it for another 1.5 years.
And what a wonderful opportunity for you to get to see this country. Did you like being on the road in this country?
I loved it, and I'm dying to get another tour, but they don't do them anymore, do they? Really? There's about 4 of them. I mean, especially now, but even before COVID, the tours were, they don't pay as much. You don't play as good places.
I am very, very curious to see how we are going to come back out of COVID and equity is so fractured right now. And it's so exorbitantly expensive to carry a tour out on the road right now. I think no one knows how we're going to proceed moving forward.
I'm just hoping that once the Omicron plays out, and maybe it'll all start to, maybe in a year, there might be some action again, But I would love to tour again. Touring the States was so incredible. It's such a big country, and it's like a series of countries under one umbrella. Every state is a different country, really.
Well, if the last 4 years hasn't shown us that, nothing has. It is a very crazy country that we're living in.
Yeah, I was in where was it? Michigan, I think it was. I might not be Michigan. And in those days you had to have. I wanted to call my mum in England. Oh, am I freezing? Oh, I'm freezing. Oh,
it pops. Anyway. Well, it happens from time to time.
Oh, it does. Okay, sorry. Okay. I wanted to buy a phone card to call my mum, because in those days it was phone cards to call Europe. I said, "Can I get a phone card to call Europe?" And she said, "Europe? Where's that?" So that was my education of touring the United States.
There's a line from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes where she says Europe, France, which I love. Europe, France. But I want to ask you.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I also had an English friend who said, "Is California in Los Angeles?" So we're just as bad over there as they are here.
So when you first came to New York, where did you stay? How did you get acclimated in New York? Did you stay with friends? And I need to ask, have you ever had to have any survival jobs outside the theater in New York?
God. Yeah. When I first came, I stayed with a dear friend of mine, Michael Levine, who I'm sure you know.
Yeah, Michael Levine and I are very dear friends.
Oh, he's just wonderful. He was so good to me. We met in London. I did the London production of Whoop-de-Doo. And he came over as a musical director.
Oh my God.
And he's just a wonderful guy. So we became very
Howard
good friends.
Crabtree did costumes for me years ago.
Wow.
Did you ever know Howard Crabtree?
I never met him. No. I think by the time we did the show, it was a couple of years after the New York one. So, just wonderful. And I also stayed with Peter Howard. I stayed with him at Dogsat for a couple of months, I think, when I first got there. He was so good to me. He kind of took me under his wing, and so lovely. Again, an angel, like angels. These people were angels. I'll never forget them.
I love them both so dearly. They're just wonderful. Yeah. I love them both.
Towering talents.
Well, I want to ask you, I mean, a friend of mine is watching, and he's asking about a show that I do want to ask about, and that's He Wrote Good Songs. So the experience of doing that show, and that was Anthony Newley.
Anthony Newley, yeah. I wrote a show about Anthony Newley because there wasn't one, and there should be. So I wrote this show about his life. I played him, the one-man show, him from the age of 8 years old until he died. So everything was happening in real time for about 90 minutes. His life was just coming at him. And I had such fun writing it and just putting every tawdry postcard burlesque joke in that I could think of to make it as saucy and silly as possible, because that was his quirky, Anthony Newley's sense of humor, and all his amazing songs, which really told his life story without you could write his life story around his songs, because he was very autobiographical. It was very easy to just spill out of me. And his daughters and son, or his daughters especially, were very supportive. And I just did it in small places like the Hollywood Fringe Festival and a couple of small theaters, just small, didn't make any money, just get it out there. And it did really well. It won a couple of awards. It won the Connecticut Critics Circle Award for Best Something Musical or Solo Performance.
Have you ever licensed the show out for other artists to do the show?
Well, no, because Leslie Brickers, I sort of approached him and said, I've written this show, and he was very behind it and very sweet and supportive for a while. And then I think there was talk of them doing a revival of Stop the World. I Want to Get Off with Hugh Jackman. I don't know if it's still going to happen or if it was going to happen. This was about 5-6 years ago. And he suddenly turned on a dime and said, I don't want anybody doing any shows about Anthony Newley. And why is it called He Wrote Good Songs? It should be called They Wrote Good Songs. And that was the last I heard of him. He just that was it. So I thought, okay, nothing I can do. So I just let it go. And that was the last I saw of He Wrote Good Songs.
So is that a show now that is dead in the water because of that situation?
The script is still there and it's copyrighted, so no one can steal it. So you never know if the family ever decides they want, to look at it. Yeah.
I want to show a clip of you performing, and then you and I are going to come back on the other side of this, and we'll talk a little bit more. So okay. Here's a clip. So
life's a very funny proposition, you can bet. And no one's ever solved the problem properly as yet. Young for a day, then old and gray, like the rose that buds and blooms and fades and falls away, losing health to gain our wealth. while through this dream we tour. Everything's a guess, and nothing's absolutely sure. Hurried and worried until we're buried, and there's no curtain call. Life's a very funny proposition after
So let's talk about George M Cohan and, of course, Chip Defa and how you began working with Chip, and you've done so much work with Chip.
Oh my gosh. Well, George M Cohan, I mean, that song is like the Bible. It's just the perfect song, and not very well known today. You know, he wrote it when he was 22, which is astonishing. You think he wrote it at the end of his life, but he was such a wise man. Chip Defa, he's the greatest raconteur in show business.
Yes.
An amazing mind, so many stories, and he has so much in him. He writes and writes and writes and writes. He used to write for the New York Post, but he's an amazing author. He has these ideas and he just writes. It's like knowing, you know, one of the great playwrights. It's like, no, I'm so glad to know him. And
well, he told a story the other day. For those who did not see the show, it is available on demand. Go and see it. But he was holding auditions and for George M Cohan Tonight, and actor after actor after actor came in, and with all due respect to those actors, he was not finding what he was looking for. And then you walked in and you killed it. And he walked out into the hall and said, "Everyone can go home. I found my George M Cohan."
I remember that day.
And, you know, if you'll excuse me, he pissed everybody off. And saying, well, I haven't auditioned yet.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, and as I was hearing this story, as an actor myself who has sat in many auditions and cattle calls and everything, I see both sides of that coin.
Me too.
Because I would rather know that my time is not going to be wasted by me going into an audition. Let me go home, you know, if you found the right person for the job.
Yeah, me too.
So
he did that. It was amazing. That's what I love about him. He's just so, he beats totally to the beat of his own drum. And that's the kind of person I want to work with. I don't want anyone who thinks they're establishment or you know, does things the way they think it should be done. He just does it the way he feels it.
But I have to hear from your point of view that when that moment happened, did you think, who is this person who is doing this?
I did a little bit. I was like, he can't. This is obviously going to be a terrible show, because why would he just give it to me? I mean, certainly anyone could do it then if I could do it. So, but I was doing Cabaret on Broadway at the time, and you know, it was quite a well-paid job. You know, it was enough to pay the rent, which is unusual in show business. So I was a fool to let it go, but I did. I just left Cabaret to do a non-paid gig that was going to last 6 weeks or something, you know, including rehearsals. And
now talk about a leap of faith.
Well, it was about vaudeville, and I'd never done a show about vaudeville, which was my dream. So nothing mattered except doing a show about vaudeville. So I was prepared to let that show go and let Cabaret go. And but it came back to me. Cabaret came back to me bountifully in the years since then. I did the last national tour as well. So I was very lucky.
Well,
And I've done 7 times.
what was the response from the producers when you went to them and you said, "I am leaving this show"?
I felt bad because they were convinced I hated them, and they actually told me. They said, "You hate us, don't you?" Roundabout said this to me. "You hate us, don't you?" And I said, "No." Of course, it was too late. I'd already given my notice. No, I want to go where my heart tells me. And they didn't understand because they're producers, and quite rightly, if you get a Broadway show, you keep it. Unless you get another Broadway show or a movie or a check for $10 million, then you leave. But you don't do it to do a non-leave.
I interviewed Cleavon Little years ago, and he was doing Hello Dolly, the African-American version with Cab Calloway and Pearl Bailey.
Yes.
And he left the show to do another show off-Broadway.
Yeah.
And Cab Calloway lashed into him.
Oh.
And said it was the biggest mistake that he was making of his life to leave a hit Broadway show to go and do something like this. But he said that he had to go where his heart was leading him.
Yeah.
And we all...
I understand Cab Calloway's point of view, because even in those days, there's so much discrimination that, as a Black performer, if you go to a Broadway show, that's an amazing opportunity that you wouldn't want to let go of. So I can understand Cab Calloway's point of view as well, being afraid for him. Like, if you leave this wonderful job, it's going to be tough again. Back then.
So you got the chance to do this, this version of vaudeville. And, with all due respect to Chip, so I love you, Chip. So I'm going to ask this question. Did it live up to your expectations?
Yes.
Of what vaudeville was, your idea of what vaudeville was?
Yes. Because of Chip's writing, brilliant.
And his knowledge, by the way.
His knowledge, and Cohan's music. Again, Chip chose the right songs to further the story, to just immerse you in that vaudeville world. And it was magic. I felt like I was in Me and My Girl.
Yes.
It all came back. Yeah, it was just wonderful. And I've done the show at every possible opportunity I can since. I'd never say no to it if it comes up, ever. Yeah. Went to Korea and did it a few years ago.
But you also have gone on to do independent film. And I'm going to show a sampling of your work in film so that we can show. I'm doing this for your agents so that your agents can be on the phone.
So you can see my work.
Your work.
Oh,
so here we are. Here's a clip of your work. And we'll be back on the other side of this as well.
Okay. Lovely.
Programmed familiarity. But this is in space.
What destination?
That one. I didn't think anyone was here. Earth is full of ordinary people who think they're extraordinary, and extraordinary people who think they're ordinary.
Well, which one are you?
Ordinary.
Would you like to be friends?
I have enough human acquaintances to fulfill my disappointment quota.
Is that a yes?
Why don't you talk like the other androids on Earth?
What's your favorite movie, Frank?
Oh, I don't like movies. Oh, you stop talking about Pismo Beach! I never went to the movies because I never had anyone to go with. You really notice how alone you are. You should come with me. We can go to Pismo Beach. No, but this is your favorite movie.
Wow, great work.
Oh, that's a lovely little movie. That's little clips from it, I think. But it was a lovely movie, directed and written by Auden Bui, B-U-I, an LA lady director who's just a genius. Beautiful. She's a lovely lady to work with. If you ever get a chance to work with her, she's amazing. Auden Bui. I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Was it an easy transition for you to go from doing theater to doing film?
Yeah. It's a whole different mindset. Whereas in the theater, you're like, you feel that. In the movies, you just go inside yourself. So it's just a different thought process. You just, it's almost, it's beyond reality. It's sort of internal because it picks up everything. So you have to be like, I can't be doing this.
And you actually filmed George M Cohan Tonight, and that is going to be coming out.
We just filmed it. Yes, yes. It's doing festivals at the moment, and it's getting really nice reception from smaller festivals. The bigger festivals were invisible at the moment, but we're hoping to just be a little bit more visible slowly. But it's picked up, I think 15 or 16 awards in the last 3 months that it's been out at the festival. So I hope it continues to get some traction. You know, it's so hard because we're nobody. We're an independent company, and so nobody knows or cares who we are. So we're trying to make an impression, and it's hard. So, but it's a beautiful show. It's a beautiful piece. We've changed very little of the original script. We changed some to make it a bit more cinematographic.
Yeah, great work. Randy Parker Huckabone says you should see Jon in Like the Spider.
Oh yes. Oh, did he write in?
Yes, yes.
Another amazing director I work with. He is a one-man band, the greatest indie director I think in the world. He wrote this movie called Like the Spider, and I played a serial killer who was dying of cancer.
Wow.
It was very.
Where can I see it?
I don't know if it's streaming. I know he was out on DVD. But it was about 9 years ago we shot it. Maybe Randy could tell you if it's streaming anywhere. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's shot in Rochester, New York. Very dark.
I spent a week there one night.
I know. Yeah, actually, you know what? I've spent a lot of time there because I worked at the downstairs Cabaret Theater a lot.
No, I'm joking. I performed at the downstairs Cabaret Theater. Yes, I loved performing there.
I loved it too.
You know, that's an old vaudeville joke. You know, I love Rochester.
Yeah, I love it too. It's you know, it's obviously a little depressed at the moment because of Kodak and stuff, but it's beautiful. I mean,
I went to the Kodak Museum while I was there, so that was fun to do and everything.
Yes.
I want to ask, are you in New York right now?
I am, yes, Manhattan.
And what was your calendar like when everything shut down?
Well, I was in LA and I came back to New York to shoot an indie movie. And I came back on March 13th, which was my mom's birthday, from LA. Supposed to start shooting on March 15th, which is when everything shut down. And I was calling the director on the phone on March 15th when we were supposed to do a night shoot on the subway. That was our first night of shooting. And I said, should we really just think about this for a day or two and see what's going on? He said, no, we'll be fine. So I said, well, speak to the other actors because I'm feeling a little bit nervous. Everything is shutting down. There may not even be any trains. I mean, I didn't know. So then he went away for about 15 minutes and called me back and he said, you're right. We should put this on ice. So we didn't shoot until the following October of last year, the year before last, 2020. We shot the movie between October and December, and it's not, I don't think it's finished yet, but that's that one. And then by the 17th of March, which was 2 days after we didn't shoot, I came down with COVID. Wow. And then gave it to my partner 3 days later. He started coming down with it.
I need to ask, have you ever been on a tightrope?
No, I'm scared of heights. Which is funny, I just flew in a show.
Because my friend Bobby Hetchlin Taylor is here, and he said you would be perfect in a Barnum revival, and he can teach you to walk on a tightrope.
Oh, I'll take him up on it. As long as can we start?
He will get you over your fear of heights.
Really? Oh, well, actually, I just did Christmas Carol. I just came back on Christmas Eve.
Yes, Randy. Randy's asking if you could share a link to the Like the Spider trailer. I would love for him to share that link.
Yeah,
and I will include that in the notes on YouTube as well.
Okay. That's great.
Well, you know how to share that.
Well, you're so technological.
Yes. So what's next for you, Jon?
Nothing. No, nothing. I have nothing. I don't think I have anything. Do I? I feel
where's that agent? Get the agent on the phone.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, she's lovely. But I was going to. I keep meaning to record a new album.
He will teach you to walk on a tightrope as long as I will do it with you.
Oh, that'll be fun. Then we can go for coffee.
Well, it's a new year. Why not?
Yes, why not? No, I
That'll
love
make
that.
the
I love to
playlist.
do it. Actually, there's very, when you go to see a new agent or something, and they say, what roles do you see yourself playing? And I always hate it when they say that, because I don't know. I'll try anything. And Barnum was one of the shows I thought, well, maybe I could be that. So thank you for saying that.
Yes. Well, as we wind up, I always
already?
in my
Oh,
shows,
God, yes.
yes, the time has flown. But
Hasn't it?
I always end my shows with my homage to James Lipton inside the Actors Studio. Somebody sent me this great thing called it's called Icebreaker. Look at this, and I pulled the first card out today. It's these icebreaker cards. There they are, and this is the first card. I don't know if you can see this. And can you see what the first question is?
Oh, when was the last time you cried and why?
So that's the first question that I pulled. So when was the last time you cried and why?
It was the night before last. Johnny, why was I crying the night before last? We were watching something on TV. Oh, God. It was a documentary. Johnny, what was it called?
It was called
Gone. And it was about a mother. It's a documentary about a mother whose son disappeared in Vienna.
Aaron Gillen is his name.
Aaron Gillen, his name was. This beautiful guy, American, who went to live and work in Vienna and was in a sauna, a gentleman's sauna, and something happened and he ran out of there naked and disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like a homophobic thing. The police are covering it up. They don't know what's going on. Anyway, and I was bawling. That was the night before last.
Okay. So that's the first question. And then I've got my own questions here.
Yes.
And the first question is, what is your biggest pet peeve?
I have two.
Okay.
One is peeps. My peeps. Okay.
Oh my God. I hope, before you go for the second one,
Okay.
I hope that my friend Kathleen Hutchberg is watching.
Really?
And I say this for a reason, because what are the chances that I was talking about peeps on the phone today with her?
Really?
She is from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And believe it or not, that's the home of Peeps. That's what you are talking about, Peeps, right?
Well, no. Oh, sorry. No, not peeps, the things you eat. Peeps, the phrase as in people, my people.
Oh, Peeps. Okay.
My peeps instead of my people.
I thought you meant Peeps like that you eat.
Oh, I don't like those either.
No, I don't either. Those are my pet peeves. But they dropped a peep in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania at midnight on New Year's Eve. So peeps. We're going to eliminate peeps from our vocabulary in the new year.
I hate it. And there's another one. People have started doing this. If you ask them something, they'll start the reply or the response with the word so. Everyone's doing it now. So. It's really annoying me. See, I'm getting old and grumpy.
I'll tell you the one that I can't stand, and all the newscasters are doing this.
Oh.
Look.
Yes,
They begin a sentence with look. I can't stand
You're gonna
that.
get me into that now. I'm gonna be looking for it everywhere.
Okay, my next question. What have you most feared in your life?
Hell. Because when I was a kid, I think I was drunk or something, or high or something, and I had this thing that I went to hell and saw hell. So now to this day, I'm thinking, did I see hell? So that was it. It's all, I know it's just the body, but it's nothing, but I'm scared of hell. And when the Christians tell me I'm going to hell because I'm gay, that makes me think, oh no, then there's no such thing as hell, because if they believe it, it can't be true.
Okay, I'm going to bring up a picture again because this brings me to my next question. I want to show this photograph again. Here you are with your family.
Okay.
And my question is, what do you honor most in your mother?
I honor most in my mother? Her kindness, incredible kindness to other people, and her practicality as well. She's a very practical woman, but her and my father was so. My father passed away 6 years ago, but my mother's still around.
Oh, God bless her. Thank you.
Yeah, she's doing so great. The kindness she shows to other people without thinking. is astonishing. I've never experienced a kinder person in my life. So I honor that. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
can never match it. I can never meet her. She set the bar too high for me. Damn you, woman. I'm not as nice as she is.
The next question, do you believe in affirmations?
You mean making affirmations?
Making affirmations.
With a view to it being sort of opening opportunities up. Is that what you mean? I'm not very bright. Yes, I don't do it because there's always something else to do. It's like meditating. I never do that either. But
okay.
Yes, I do believe in them, but I unfortunately I need to step up and put my money where my mouth is.
Okay. What do you think is the clearest definition of virtue?
As in, I still have my virtue.
And do you?
No, God, no. Oh, God, no. Does that answer your question, actually?
Yes, it does. You don't need to go any further. Are you a minimalist or a collector?
I think I'm a minimalist who finds himself collecting and then has big purges where he throws everything out and then a bit more. So I end up sort of throwing the TV out at the same time as everything that I have been hoarding. So if I was more ordered in my mind, I would be a minimalist because everything would be, but because as an actor, my life is so chaotic and finances are always so chaotic. 1 minute you're up a little and then you're down again. And then you go, and down. So I can't organize. I can't dust and vacuum anymore. I'm a bit like Quentin Crisp, after the first 3 inches or 3 centimeters.
Oh my God. I had dinner with him once.
Did you?
Yes.
Wow.
And I can't believe you mentioned his name because that's one of my favorite quotes.
Oh.
For those who don't know, after 3 inches, it doesn't get any worse.
We're finding that now. It's been. I don't think I've got down on my hands and knees on the floor with a bucket of soapy water since COVID started.
Oh, that's good for you.
What
is the best manifestation of freedom in your life?
Freedom. Early mornings, because the possibilities are endless, and I still have that. I think to myself, if I go to bed looking forward to getting up in the morning, then I know I'm okay. And I still do that. So every night I have this immense feeling of the day lifting off my shoulders and the infinite possibilities of the next day before me. And that's sort of an excitement. I get tingly. And sometimes I get so excited I can't sleep, which ruins the next day because I'm a zombie for the whole day and I don't achieve anything.
That's wonderful.
That's my feeling of freedom. That's that moment.
What a great answer. I just love that.
I still have that optimism, yeah.
What do you consider to be the most beautiful word in the world?
Oh, love. It is. I sound so cliche, but love, because God is love. Love is God. So people, make God a person or a thing or a judging thing that puts you in hell and you in heaven and all that. But God, it's just love. God is an it, and it is love.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't judge, it loves. It's all it does. It forgives, it loves, it moves on. So love.
Amen. Amen. And this is my last question. In what period of history would you have least liked to have lived?
I guess that depends where you are. I have a thing about I would have loved to have lived in medieval England. But then again, I probably wouldn't have smelt very good and I probably would have died at 20 or something. Again, I'd love to have been in vaudeville, but if I'd been in vaudeville, I probably would have been old enough to go to war and died. So the least, oh gosh, I guess, I don't know. Oh my God, this is terrible. I don't know. Prehistoric times when there were dinosaurs. Because there was no MGM.
No. and we could never have lived without MGM.
I did.
Well, Jon, I have enjoyed this so much. And Chip, thank you. Don't go anywhere for a moment.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much. It means so much to me, and I'm sure Jon too, that you showed up today.
It does.
So, yes. So thank you. If this was your first time here, please don't let it be your last time. Please leave a comment on today's show. Let us know what you think of today's show on YouTube. Hit the like button. Share this with your friends. If this is your first time, there's a little button right here on richardskippercelebrates.com that says join in the celebration. If you click on that button, that will remind you anytime I'm going to go live. And don't worry, I only do it once a day if I do that. Tomorrow night, we are going to be celebrating the life and career and the legacy of Harvey Evans, who just recently left us. And so many of his friends and colleagues will be joining us. That's 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So please come back if you're able to join us. Did you know Harvey?
No, I never met him. A lot of my friends knew him and worked with him. And
he was a dear friend. So we're going to be celebrating him tomorrow night. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list, and the sixth name that pops up, reach out with a phone call, not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call, and let that person know what they mean to you. As my dear friend David Friedman always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And this is what you can do. You can also go to Amazon, and you can order 2 copies of Irving Berlin, Love Songs and Such, with Jon Peterson is on. This is Chip DeFa's Irving Berlin, Love Songs and Such. Keep 1 copy for yourself, and then send 1 to the 6th friend that pops up on your list. And they'll thank you for this. I know they will. And as I always say, as my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. Now, Jon, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to expound upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you want to give to anyone who's watching right now. Don't worry about how to end the show. As soon as you say goodbye, I will end the show. Thank you for being here, and you're welcome here anytime. I had a blast. I hope you did too.
I had a ball. Thank you so much, Richard. I hope we see each other in the flesh soon as well.
We will, and it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming and tuning into this. I hope I didn't rattle on too much. I do tend to sort of talk like an old fishwife over the fence. So I hope I didn't do that. And I'm a bit of a gossip, so I hope I didn't name any names. So that's it. I hope you had a lovely time. And please keep your eyes and ears out for the George M Cohan Tonight movie that's coming out soon. Hopefully we'll get through some festivals and get a nice old streaming deal, and you can see the movie. It's a beautiful little movie, and takes you back to Vaudeville, which is, of course, my home. Thank you so much, and good night. Bye.